To the world, Alex Miller was easy to love. He was the kind of person whose laughter arrived before he did, whose jokes softened tense meetings, and whose smile made strangers feel instantly at ease. It was like nothing in life could ever touch him deeply enough to leave a mark. At work, people called him positive, friends called him strong. His family would say, "Alex never lets things get to him," and Alex made sure that version of himself stayed perfectly intact, because it was so much easier to perform happiness than to explain pain. He laughed loudly in restaurants, offered advice he himself couldn't follow, and kept conversations moving so no one ever paused long enough to ask how he was really doing. But every night, the same thing happened. He'd unlock the door to his small apartment, step inside, and carefully close it behind him. And the smile would fall away like something heavy he was just tired of holding. The silence hit first, then the exhaustion. He'd lean his forehead against the door for a moment longer than necessary, breathing out a day he had survived rather than lived. Inside that apartment, there were no punchlines, no polite responses, no expectations to be okay. There was just Alex, finally allowed to feel the weight he carried so carefully in public. People assumed Alex's strength was natural, but it was built slowly, painfully, from years of learning that sadness made others uncomfortable. When his father died, people praised how well he handled it, not noticing that he never mentioned it again. When a long relationship ended, friends joked that he'd bounce back quickly, and Alex just laughed along. Admitting how lonely the nights had become was too much to explain. Over time, he became fluent in distraction memes, late-night shows, endless scrolling, anything to keep him from sitting too long with thoughts he couldn't answer. The hardest part wasn't the pain itself, it was how invisible it was. No one checks on the person who always says they're fine. No one worries about the one who makes everyone else feel better. Alex became the emotional first responder for everyone around him, absorbing their fears and heartbreaks while quietly stacking his own inside a place he promised himself he'd deal with later, but later kept getting postponed. One evening, after a particularly loud dinner where he'd been the funniest version of himself, Alex came home and broke faster than usual. He slid down the door, sat on the floor, and laughed one more time. Not because anything was funny, but because the sound was familiar enough to hide the sob that followed. His chest tightened, and tears came without permission, the kind that arrive like a leak you've ignored for too long. He cried silently, not out of shame, but out of habit. When he finally stood up, he noticed something devastating. There were no photos of him with anyone in the apartment, only pictures he had taken of other people's moments, birthdays and weddings he had attended as support, not the center. It felt like proof that he had mastered being present for others while slowly disappearing from his own life. The next day on the surface, nothing changed. Alex laughed again, made someone's day a little lighter, and accepted compliments about his energy. But something inside him had shifted. When a coworker asked, "How are you? Really?" Alex paused. The silence was uncomfortable. He almost filled it with a joke. Almost. Instead, he just said, "I'm tired," and let that be enough. Healing didn't arrive all at once. There was no dramatic confession or overnight transformation. But Alex began leaving the door open a little longer when he came home. He started writing things down instead of swallowing them. He stopped answering every call immediately and allowed himself to cancel plans without an excuse. Slowly, he learned that being strong didn't mean being unbreakably, meant being honest about the cracks. Alex still laughs. He always will. But now, when the door closes, he doesn't fall apart in quite the same way. Sometimes he sits with the quiet and lets it stay quiet. Because the truth is, the person who smiles the brightest often carries the heaviest silence. And the bravest thing Alex ever did wasn't making others laugh at, was admitting to himself, behind a closed door, that he deserved care too, even when no one else could see him. If you or someone you know is struggling, remember that your feelings are valid. You don't have to carry the weight alone. Reach out, talk to someone you trust, or contact a mental health professional. Your story deserves to be heard. Thanks for watching.